Hello, everyone. This is Rhett Power on Lunchtime on LinkedIn Live. The show that will be renamed very soon. If you caught the program last week with David Breyer, he did some on-air live rebranding of the show. And if you know David Breyer, David is one of the geniuses in branding here. So we're going to take his advice and we're going to rebrand the show. But as it is now, it's Lunchtimes on LinkedIn Live. And we do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12 noon or about 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, depending on our guest availability. The point of the show is I talk to today's leaders, thought leaders, best-selling authors, CEOs, business leaders, or basically anybody that's doing good stuff in the world. And we want to sort of get all the good stuff from them about their success, their habits, the things that they do that allow them to be and do what they do, so that we can learn, so that we can all be better. That's the point of the show. It is interactive, so if you do have questions, we don't always get to them because the conversation is engaging, but we try to get to them, and we certainly get to them after the show. And I know that Sylvester and I today will certainly answer questions if you have them. We're also simulcasting with Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And that is because Social Live, their platform allows us to do that. I will also say, if you like the program, give it a like or a share, spread the word. And today is is a special day because I've got a good friend of mine. He's one of the best people that I've met. And I often I like getting my dose of Sylvester. And I think you're going to feel the same way after you meet Sylvester Chisom. Sylvester is an education tech entrepreneur. He's author of 4 best-selling books. He is the co-founder of the Education and Entrepreneur Incubator at the University of Missouri, St. Louis, where he's also an advisor. He's been recognized, guys, by Ebony Magazine, by Steve Harvey. His latest book, Manifest Greatness. You know what? My son has your cap, by the way. I wish I had it with me. So I love props on the show. And the Power of 5, which is a 90-day goal-setting journal. We're going to talk about both of those books today. Sylvester, man, thank you for joining us.
I'm super excited to be here, connecting with you, as you said, a great friend, and to talk with your audience, and hopefully we share some things in this conversation that will resonate for people. Well,
like I said, I have to get every once in a while. I have to get my dose of Sylvester's motivation, and it gets me going. And so I want to talk about a little bit. You talk about patience creates greatness. What do you mean by that?
So it's what I mean by that. It's not patience in the sense of sitting back on your heels, but it's patience in the sense that the goal that you set, or the thing that you see yourself doing, you have to allow yourself time to grow into that opportunity, to grow into being that person, becoming that person. If you choose to be a best-selling author, you first have to create a manuscript, right? You first have to connect with an audience. That takes time to become that New York Times bestseller, or to become a great author like yourself. Or if you want to have a successful e-commerce business, like, you have to allow yourself time to grow into that. A great historical example that I like to use in terms of that patience creates greatness. It's a story I heard about Leonardo da Vinci, and I'm a huge fan of art, and so I had a chance to go to the Louvre and see the Mona Lisa firsthand. And one of the things, the story behind it, Rhett, like, do you know how long it took Leonardo da Vinci to create the Mona Lisa? How long do you think it took?
It's not fair because I know the answer.
Okay,
but it was a long time. It was
right. I've asked several people that question, and when I talk about this patience thing, and you hear people say things like, "Oh, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years." No, it took him 16 years to create that painting. And it's like, okay, well, why did it take so long? And it's about that creative process that he had to grow as a creative. Over that 16 years, he learned about lighting. He learned about shading and the way things hit the canvas in a certain way. And that made him a better painter. So the person who started the painting was not the person who completed the painting. It was a person who was more advanced in his technique and his skill level and his open-mindedness in terms of creativity. And that's what led to creating the most famous, recognized painting in the world. And so I think it's a perfect example for all of us. Whatever it is that we're doing, we have to allow ourselves to grow into that person. And it's an active form of patience. It's not sitting back and doing nothing and expecting some greatness to fall out the sky, but it's actively pursuing the greatness and allowing yourself to be patient until you find the greatest expression of whatever that idea or that goal or the business or whatever it is that you're working toward. So that's something that is a lesson for me personally.
So your backstory is captivating. You talk about your mother who ran a beauty salon, single mother. You started your first business at 17. I won't ask you your age now, but because I think we're both getting up there a little bit. I see some more gray hair. Just
a little.
What are you? How different are you from 17 to now? What's different about Sylvester?
I think when I first started out as an entrepreneur, I was born into an entrepreneurial environment, and I didn't realize it. I had to accept that is who I am, and I just had to accept that. And so I don't know if I fully understood that when I was 17 completely, but the biggest thing I think I started off, it was for entrepreneurship for self, and that works. But ultimately, the biggest shift now is using entrepreneurship as a tool to help others. When you do that, fundamentally, it feels better. Also, you're helping other people, and then you create this interesting viral impact, and then the business is actually better. It really comes down to that simple thing, like, okay, a business must solve a problem. Who needs that solution? So you're helping people through that solution. The more people that you're able to help, the greater the success of your business or your entrepreneurial endeavor. And so that's probably the biggest shift from a philosophical standpoint. It's like it's still important to increase shareholders' wealth, yes, but the greatest thing is the service. It's the service of others, doing something in service of others that I care about. So
is the hustle,
that's probably the biggest thing.
Is the hustle and the drive the same?
I would say it's increased.
It's increased.
I would say it's increased. Yeah, like for me, it's like people say, yeah, like a lifestyle business and all these different things. Like I feel like entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. So it's like everything is work when you enjoy what you're doing. If you set it up that way, where you're putting yourself in the current of the things that you want to happen, then your meetings are different. Who you choose to meet with, who you choose to talk with, what you choose to consume in terms of content. Like I'm trying to focus all of my time and attention toward the things that I desire to create, and that's a full-on expression of a lifestyle. Like that is the lifestyle.
Right.
So it all works together. It's like this full continuity plan where everything that I'm doing, all the ways that I choose to spend my time with the people, the places I choose to go, the things I'm consuming, is all related to me and my business endeavors, which are things that I care about. So
how did you discover that? Right. I mean, you've got your curriculum now and over 500 schools, and and institutions and organizations. You've got, and you really have focused, and you're working with the, I want you to tell us about the trip that you were just on here in a minute.
Okay.
Working with some young people on a business to help them grow as entrepreneurs. How did you end up focusing? I mean, you started the car washes.
Right.
How did you end up focusing in on ed tech and the track that you're on now, which is really and giving, giving back in that way?
Right. I think it starts. I just had this conversation with a good friend, and I think the biggest thing is to continuously ask yourself, what's next? Like, what's next? Every success or failure creates another opportunity. So if I just give the audience a brief history of how I got to this place is okay. I worked at a car wash when I was 17 with my best friend. And from there, I learned some skills. And I said, well, I could take these skills and do this myself, because that's how I think in terms of entrepreneurial, right? And so at my mother's hair salon, there was a lady, I would keep that car clean every other week for $20. And it was cold outside one day, so I'm trying to figure out how I can get done fast. So I called my best friend, who also works at the car wash with me. He has a need. He needs to pay a $10 pager bill. So we go and clean that one car, and there it is. We make that $20, but then there are two other ladies for us who say, hey, could you also clean mine? So we made $60 instead of just 20. For us, the light bulb went off and said, well, on Saturdays, let's just do this thing. And so then that started as just a Saturday side hustle, but then we both went away to college. So as athletes, we wanted to have something where we could make some money, but we controlled the time. So having our own business work for us, we would come home on the summer and winter breaks and work that business. Little did we know we were building something that people needed. Like, we took ownership over that part of their life when they thought about having their cars clean. They thought about Arthur and Sylvester. That's my best friend, Arthur. But then senior year came in terms of graduation. We had built up a business where, it was a full book of clients. And it was like, okay, now you have these degrees and you also have this business. Do you bet on the degrees or do you bet on yourself? I personally believe you should bet on yourself. Like no one can top what I can do if I bet on myself and put in 40 hours a week for myself, 60 hours a week for myself, whatever it is. The outcomes for me, I personally believe, will be greater when I put that focused work and attention in on something I care about. Like, so there creates a business. But we ask ourselves, we put some constraints in there. We said, okay, a year from now, what does success look like? A year from now, what does failure look like? And we will evaluate at that point. If we're on the road towards success, then we'll keep going. If we're on the road toward failure, then we'll stop. I'll go to dental school. You go off to criminal justice, and he wanted to be a federal law enforcement agent, right? We were on that road towards success. So from there, it's like, okay, now we have this business, this thing going. So what can we do next? Throughout fast forward, we ended up winning these awards, the Steve Harvey Neighborhood Awards for the best detail shop in the nation. Currently, we still have fleet clients like Amazon. If you're in St. Louis, you see any of the Amazon trucks going around, we keep all of those clean. AT&T, we keep all of those clean. Fortune 500 relationships with Emerson, Express Scripts, car washes at the airport. So it's been a great opportunity to help other people. But all of those things came from saying, okay, well, what's next? So fast forward to get to the publishing side is saying, what would I tell my 17-year-old self as an entrepreneur? And so these are my thoughts. These are the life lessons I've gained from having great mentors, great successes, great failures, negotiating $1 million contracts, all these different things, these opportunities that we had at a young age, and sharing that information in the book turned into next. It seems like you just attract the right things to you when you start doing something. Randomly, as we're finishing the book, like a vocational school reaches out and say, hey, can you guys come and speak and talk to some organization they had? And like, yeah, we'll come speak, and we have this book coming too. They're like, well, we want to order 30 copies of that. So for me, I said, wow, one person who liked what we were doing ordered 30 copies of the book for a school system. So that's the impact is viral, right? And so from there, that led to going down that rabbit hole of trying to connect, entrepreneurship, education to school districts. That led to a second book, The Young Entrepreneur's Guide to Success 2.0. That led to my third book, Manifest Greatness, which is about the entrepreneurial mindset. So it shifted. Again, the shift went from technical information like do this to start your business, to removing entrepreneurship out of the house of business exclusively and looking at entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial thinking as a 21st century life skill that everyone needs to know if you want to have better relationships, if you want to grow within your corporation, if you want to go from intern to manager to C-level, all those different things, they require entrepreneurial thinking, taking ownership over your own success, not putting that in your parents' hand, if you're a kid, or your teacher's hands, or if you're an adult, putting that in the hands of your boss or your wife or your husband. Like, no, it's your job to be successful and to make the things happen that you want to see in life. And so that's turned into speaking at schools, and that turns into speaking at corporations and conferences. Now I've done keynotes for large corporations like Enterprise and FedEx and now those books, like you said, are being used in over 500 school districts. There's online curriculum that we sell for annual licensing fees to school districts, and we're impacting over 50,000 students. And so that all starts from two guys trying to pay a $10 pager bill by washing one car. So I'm like.
But that goes to your conversation. I love that segue though, because I love it because in your TEDx talk, you walk out with a bucket and a hose, right? And what was the point of that? Because I think that to me, what I got out of that, and I don't want to step on what you're going to say, but to me, it symbolized that you can start with anything, right? What you have to really watch out for is up here, right? It's not what you physically have. It's not the money. It's not it's your mental.
Right.
I mean, what
it's the water hose and a bucket is just a symbol. It's just a symbol of small beginnings. Apple started in the garage. Walt Disney started in his uncle's garage. Michael Dell started in a dorm room. Like all these different entities that you see as large things, they start in small beginnings. Even taking it from an art perspective, Jean-Michel Basquiat, I had a chance to talk with the lady who allowed him to live with him, his roommate. Now, Jean-Michel Basquiat, his paintings are going for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? But she said she would come home and this man is just painting on the bathroom door or just painting on anything, like small beginnings. Small beginnings. You don't just wake up and you're some world famous singer. Like, no, you have to start small. Like, start small and finish big. But it's the continuous, like, incremental improvement to the process, to the growth. But that's what that water hose in that bucket represents. It's like, what do you have now to get started? Like, asking yourself that so many people allow themselves to be stifled and stopped because they're like, oh, I had this $1 million idea, but it probably doesn't take $1 million to get it started. And once you get it started, then you'll learn some things about, about the business. You'll find product market fit first. And then once you find those things, then you can start thinking about scaling and growing it or reaching out to investors. And then you have more value. You have more value. It's like if you come to a publisher with just an idea, okay, that's fine. But if you come to a publisher and say, hey, here's the whole book, the package, here's the target audience, and I've already, planting some seeds and I do 50 speaking engagements a year, like, oh, okay, well, maybe we want to, you're making it easier for us. You're going to attract the things that you need to get you to that next level. So that's what I try to push to
you
people.
become more mature,
Yeah.
right? I always credit with my business growth, the recession, right? It made us, we didn't have access to money. And so it actually made us more responsible with the money that we did have, right? It made us uber focused on the problem and the problems we were trying to solve. I think if we'd have gotten money, I don't know that we would have been successful.
I think like money's great. If you can get your hands on as much of it as you can or to do whatever, great, go for it. However, when you don't have the money to throw at a problem, then you have to apply greater creativity.
That entrepreneurial thinking,
right? Entrepreneurial thinking. A great example, Paul Mitchell, right? The hair care company.
Right.
The guy who owns it, he also he also started Patron, the tequila company. But I saw this interview with him, a money situation like what you said. Paul Mitchell, if anyone has ever recognized the label, it's simple. It's black and white. It's only black and white, he said, because he didn't have enough money to put it in color. Right? And so, like, there it is. And it's this world famous, recognizable brand that is simple, is clean, because he's like, well, if we can't put it in color for the printing cost on the bottles, let's just keep it simple and do it in black. And it worked. So it's like, I think we should all think about that. It challenges you to think creatively when you have maybe limited resources, but to maximize those resources, and that's what's important.
What do you go into, because in some of the lessons from Manifest Greatness, because I think one of the things that I really enjoyed was the removing of limiting beliefs. Talk about that a little bit.
We're only limited by ourselves, right? The only limits that exist are the ones that we place on ourselves. A friend of mine is he's the president of a bank right now, right? President of a regional bank here in St. Louis. But he was a foster kid. That's not supposed to happen, right? Like, he could have chose to say, I'm a foster kid, no one loves me, the world, there's no support here for me. But no, he took advantage of every opportunity he could find. I think of so many different scenarios where people have come out of tough situations, tough backgrounds, disabilities, and have still surpassed all of those things. Or if you think about the immigrants, the stories the people who come to America and they can't speak English and they have only the clothes on their back and a few dollars in their pocket, but they go on to be business titans or very successful, or doctors or lawyers. It's a choice. If you choose to allow the stereotypes or the boxes that society or people choose to put you in. But I personally believe you're not limited by who your parents were. If you came from no money, or if you came from wealth, you're not limited by those things. Or if you grew up in a rough part of town, or if you choose to live an alternative lifestyle, or if you have dyslexia or some other, it's a choice if you allow those things to limit you, or if you made some mistakes and you ended up in the system and now you're trying to get back out and do something right. It's a choice if you decide to allow those things to limit you. But if you just keep knocking and you keep going and you keep trying to move forward, and you plant that seed in your head that I'm not limited by anything. Like, the only limits that exist are the ones I choose to buy into. I'm not limited because I'm an African-American male. You're not limited because you're a woman or because you're Latina. No, it's a choice.
How do you do that? Like, how do you
recognize it as a choice if you want to move past it. It's a mental thing. It's just shifting when you start feeling those moments of self-doubt. So you're like, oh, I can't do this because, or they told me no, like, don't see those as excuses. And you have to continue to push forward to find the correct opportunity, or to find the right product market fit, or find the right space for you. If you get denied employment at 10 places, keep looking. Refine your approach. Ask yourself, like, did you do everything? Did you control everything that you can control? Like, and that's everything from the way you presented yourself, to the way you filled out the application, what time you showed up. Like, any of these things, control all the variables that you can control. When you focus on that, the outcomes will work out. You know that in business, it's just like in sales. It's like you're not gonna close 100% of the deals. You're not gonna close 50% of the deals. Like, you have to keep going. You have to keep going and refining your approach. And sometimes that can be a challenge. But what I'm saying, the self-doubt, when that creeps in, you have to tell yourself, no, I am enough. Like, no, my idea is valuable. Or when you're getting the feedback, take the feedback in, take it with a grain of salt, and challenge yourself to say, okay, well, if someone's poking holes in my thing, or these real holes, how can I answer those challenges the next time I get this opportunity to present? Or
so it's learning.
I think that's important.
So it's learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's
learning, listening, and it's recognizing that in your own brain, your own self-talk, really, your own.
The self-talk. The self-talk is important, but then also, similar to the reason you and I connect, is because we're kindred spirits. Like, I want to be around people that are ambitious and pushing forward, and trying new things, and are fearless with being first adapters, like you're doing with this LinkedIn Live. Like, I want to be around those types of people, and build my network with strong individuals who are like that, so that I can, one, have sounding boards. If I'm like, hey, Rhett, let me run something by you. What do you think about this? Or being able to tap your network, building your network so that people get to know who you are, and then your network is full of those people who could potentially put you on to the next opportunity, or support whatever it is that you're doing. And so I think it's like a combination. Like, it's the self-talk first, but then also it's very critical to surround yourself with the circle of greatness. With, like, look at the 5 people that you spend the most time with, or even go further, like the 10 people. Who are you talking to? Look on your Facebook and see, like, what are you liking? What are you pressing like on? Like, what videos are you watching? What are you watching on YouTube? What music are you listening to? Like, that's why when I was saying earlier, it's all of that. It's all of it, and if you look through your phone, it's like, okay, who are these people I'm talking to? Am I the person that's helping everyone? Like, that's good. That's important to be altruistic. However, but who's in my network, or who am I surrounding myself that's going to help me to reach higher? Who's also well connected, and a person of inspiration, that believes in me. And I think when you do that, then you'll get past those moments of self-doubt a little easier.
Do you have somebody?
You'll get past those.
Do you have somebody? I'm a firm believer in this. Do you have somebody that's like an accountability partner?
Yeah, totally. I would say one of my best friends, Lavelle Allen. I mentioned him earlier. He's a radiologist at Vanderbilt. We went to my college roommate, and both of us have worked very, very, very hard to be in the positions that we're in, and we continuously push each other and support each other. And it's like, it's very easy for him to look at me and say, like, oh, my buddy, he's written all these books, and, like, I'm not doing enough. But no, he's like one of my biggest supporters. He's like, right, man, go, keep going, keep doing it. Or for me to equally say, man, my friend's a doctor. Like he's so prestigious and he works at one of the greatest institutions in the world, like he's better than me. No, it's like, it's a space of gratitude that we work in, and it's a space of pushing each other. Like I'm happy for him when he gets a promotion. Like I'm super excited. I'm like, man, you're the great. I tell him all the time, say you're the greatest radiologist in the world. That's who you are. And it's like it's that support. When you give out that kind of energy to people, like that's what you're gonna attract back. It's not like looking at each other like, oh, I'm trying to outdo him, or he bought a new house, I need to go buy a new house. Like, no, it's like, I'm happy for you. Like, I'm coming to visit. I think that part, like, and sometimes people, that's something I think that's an easy starting point. If you're operating in a space where maybe you're not that satisfied, anybody who's watching this, if you're operating in a space where you're not satisfied with what you're doing, if there's some people that are around you that are winning right now, call them, text them, email them, tell them, man, I support what you're doing. I'm happy for you. Like I am happy for you. And you're going to attract that energy. You're going to peel some of that energy off too. Not looking at people from a space of envy or jealousy.
And
looking at people.
Isn't that heavy? That's heavy when you do that.
It's heavy. It is.
I mean, I don't
operate in that space. Anyone that's around me, whether I know you or I don't know you, or even if you're a competitor in my industry, I want you to win, because what's for me is for me. You can't stop what's for me. I believe that. And so I'm happy for you when you get whatever you're supposed to have.
Right. There's enough to go around. Right. Talk about, I love the power of 5. What was the vision behind that? Because I love the daily action. My book is about, my latest book was about daily action. And I love this because you break it down even better in the sense that 5 daily actions, right? We'll talk about that a little bit.
It's important to set our intentions on a clear goal. Like you need to know where you are going, what you are working on. And then, as I said earlier, it's important to align all of your actions to getting there, right? So if your intent is clear, right, and then the actions are clear, then you'll create better habits where you're just operating in this cycle of, this is just how I operate. I go after what I'm trying to do. All this stuff that you and I have said is great, is motivating, it's inspiring. But it means I'm not that person. Like I am a practitioner. Like you have to take action. You have to take massive action to get what it is that you want. But it's about the focused work toward getting what you want. And I believe that when you do that, you'll create so much more success. And you focus on the inputs. You focus on the inputs that create the success, or that's going to lead to the outcomes that you desire. So the Power 5 is a very simple philosophy. Once you have that clear goal set, you do 5 things a day toward reaching that goal, no matter how big or small they are. 5 things a day. And so if that's me saying, I want my books to be used in school districts all over the country, all over the world. I want to deliver speaking engagements to corporations and schools all across the world, all across the country. 5 things a day for me. 1, maybe sending a tweet. Hey world, #entrepreneurship. I'm here. It's small, but it counts, right? 2 could be doing a LinkedIn Live with Rhett Power. That's a much larger one, but it counts, right? 3 could be sending out an email with my offerings to a conference coordinator. Right. It could be recording a podcast. 5 could be something larger, negotiating a contract with the school district or with the corporation. Right. So those things count, right? So I did those 5 today. I'll do those 5. Let's just say you only do 5 days a week. 5 times 5, that's 25 things that you have done focused work toward reaching your goal. Multiply that times 4 weeks in a month. Then that's 100 things you've done toward reaching your goal. Multiply that times 12, right? That's 1,200 actions, clear actions that you have focused work that you have put in on the input side that's going to lead to the outcomes. You can't, if you do that, you can't help but see some result. May not come exactly as fast as you want, but it's about putting that focus work in over time toward reaching that goal. And I have focused even more by using the power of five. And it's been so interesting to see some of the outcomes that I've had. You know, it's making me a better business person, and it's just helping to clear my brain on the things that I want to do all these things, but it's like you have to put in the focus work, some action toward it.
So does it help you organize your day in the sense that, let's say you have 5 or 10 goals? I mean, most of us have more than one goal, right? So does it help you in terms of the way you organize your day? So when you go down, you sit down to make your calendar, if it doesn't fit into those actions, is it something you
Right, it helps. Yeah, so I like to say, I mean, you deploy the power of 5 toward each goal. And so it really is important that you figure out, like, the one I say that is most important, what is going to help you live your best life. Like, that's the goal. And so maybe that's your business, right? Maybe that's a book that you're trying to write. Maybe that's moving into a new career path. Maybe it's getting an A in a class, or maybe I've seen people even use it in relationships. Like,
Sure.
I had this one couple that's using it like to improve the relationship that they have between the husband and the wife. So I'm doing 5 things to try to make you happy.
That's good.
Every day. And it makes it, and it works. And I've seen, it's so interesting, as you know, like when you write something, the way other people see the usage is interesting sometimes. And so I have some school systems that are using it with their teachers to work on pedagogy, right? Entrepreneurs are using it for their business. I have some people doing some stuff on their diet and for fitness, but it's really about focusing in on one goal, and trying to see some outcomes within that.
That's great.
And so it does help organize your day in that way. Yes.
So what we got to wrap it up because of time, but I know because you're sitting in your car, you've got to get to your thing. What takeaways, like 1 or 2 takeaways that you'd give the audience, just off the top of your head? What do you think you want to leave people with out of this conversation? What's the most important?
I think since this is on LinkedIn, I would say my focus is to do work that makes you happy. Do work that makes you happy. I feel like you'll create greater success for yourself if you do that. Ultimately, the goal in life is to increase that happiness quotient. And it's not about the accumulation of things. I just spent the last 9 days in Costa Rica and Panama, and
we didn't even get to that.
Focusing on this.
I wanted to talk about that.
We can come back. I mean, or whatever you say. But the people in Costa Rica, they have the saying "pura vida," which means pure life, and it means don't sweat the small things. It means be happy with your space. It's like we get so when the phone battery dies or if there's traffic, but it's just like enjoy life. Enjoy life. Ultimately, that's what it's about. I mean, there is work. We spend so much time at work that I think it's important that we do work that we care about. And if you're not in that position, try to work yourself into a position where you are doing some work or a career or a business that you care about, where it's meaningful and you're helping others. And I think we all were born with a different gift, different talents, different skills, different life experience. And those are not for us, those are for the world. And we have to see it in that way. Like your gifts, your talents, your life experiences, you're supposed to give those to the world. So it's selfish if you're holding that back and you know you have something that's valuable inside of you, that greatness that's inside of you. You're supposed to give that to the world. I think that's important. And then it's just all the motivation and inspiration, the last thing, it really is about execution. And so it's about getting things done. And so that's why I created that Power of Five philosophy, because I don't want to be that person that's like, yeah, just think it and just believe it in your head. But like, yeah, that's important, but you have to take massive action if you want to be great, and it takes time. And so it's like, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great.
Amen to that, brother. That's that's a great way to wrap it up. And thank you, everyone, for joining in. If you have questions for us, please post them online, and Sylvester and I will certainly answer them. Sylvester, where can they get Manifest Greatness, and where can they get the Power of Five?
SylvesterChisom.com, SylvesterChisom.com, and the Power5Journal.com. Those are the two websites. So if you just Google my name, Sylvester Chisom, something will pop up, and you can click on those links. So,
and we'll also post those on LinkedIn. We'll post those in the comments so that people can get straight to those links. But anyway, thank you for tuning in today. We'll have another great show. We've got some great guests coming up this week. And until then, we'll see you tomorrow around 12 noon Eastern Standard Time for another